Hello and hi, YouTube family. Celestial here, and you are tuning into Celestial Evolution. Celestial Evolution. I am filming this on Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas! Walking around the Christmas tree, have a happy holiday. She's like, if I hear one more dang Christmas song. Okay, I just want to do that one. That was it, okay? Rudolph, no, I'm just playing. So, Merry Christmas! After a month-long hiatus, because this year has just flown by, and it always seems that the year end brings forth lots of loose ends that need to be dealt with. So I was dealing with those loosey ends, okay. I wanted to write another episode that has been on my brain. It's actually been on the queue, kind of slowly adding to it, but it flows in very nicely with my superhero segment that I'm focusing on in regards to fitness. But fitness is a whole multitude of things, right? And the next topic that I'm talking to you today about is a little touchy. So let me preface this episode to say that I don't mean to shame anyone, but rather I hope to inspire deep thought about the repercussions that we aim to face in this epidemic of the acceptance of rising impulsive behavior. I have been on a documentary binge, and one documentary that caught my eye was called USA's Obesity Epidemic: Heart Attack Grills, Fat Camps, Plus Size Beauty Pageants, and the link to that really greatly done documentary is down below. The body positivity movement is not new to us anymore. It has become a norm in our public discourse, debate, and news. Whether it be about protesting the injustices performed against obese people, the argument about why obesity must continue to be tamed, or Lizzo's antics online, we have all been bombarded with a topic that I feel really should boil down to common sense. If you didn't already know, the body positivity movement's credo, or their mission statement, is a social worldwide movement focusing on equality and acceptance for all body types and sizes. One of the goals is to challenge how our society, particularly all forms of media, presents and views the physical human body. This was in Dr. Kristen Fuller's words from an article she wrote called Body Positivity versus Body Neutrality. Now, I am all for a person's space to live their life as they want it to be. When it comes to people, I realize that we come from all different traumas, health backgrounds, educational backgrounds, and preferences. Therefore, I never judge a stranger in my presence solely based upon how they look. What I do judge heavily, though, is a person's attitude, and I see a few problems with some of the wording of this credo, such as acceptance and equality. Let's define these words. Acceptance, as defined by dictionary.com, is the act of taking or receiving something offered or a favorable reception. Let's pause here. What I'm finding to be a recurrent theme when I watch videos about body positivity is this entitlement that is beyond comprehension. As we just define acceptance, what I interpret this group wants is for others to receive what they are offering favorably and with approval. What we find favorable and are willing to accept is purely subjective, meaning it's our preference, right? It should not be forced upon, neither should we feel peer pressured by society to reject what we accept, because to each his own. I am aware that society sells its preconceived notions about what beauty is, and in the society, we have been spoon-fed an ideal of beauty, which can be a topic for another video. But we all know what pretty is, right? Pretty is in the eye of the beholder. So to say that we should accept what we might naturally reject, which is our right for anything that is offered by the way, is a little entitled for my liking. The next word I want to challenge is equality. Dictionary.com defines equality as great as, the same as, like or alike in quantity, degree, value, etc., of the same rank, ability, or merit. I am for equality. No matter your size, your race, your gender, we should give people an equal opportunity to prove their worth, their skill, and their merit. Equality is a fickle word, though. It's one of those words that relies heavily on idealism. Idealistically speaking, I wish we could all be equal, but then I think, where would the diversity go? In my utopian world, every child who wanted to do something or to be a particular someone would have all the resources to do so. They would have the support of whole loving parents, nutritionally dense food to eat every single day. They would be nurtured by their society to feel honored for just being them. That would be idealistic. Considering we don't live in a utopia, but rather a world where we have classes ranging from destitute to middle class to what are you going to do with all that money, one percenters? I just don't see equality happening anytime soon. Plus, it might be a boring world if everyone was just equal. There's this wonderful book turned into a movie called The Giver, which mimics this type of utopian society. But to avoid spoilers, just know that to achieve this type of world, a lot of sinister events happened in the background to give the illusion of a utopia a fighting chance. So, as much as I am in favor of the idea of equality, it takes away the fun of merit, which is earned, not given. Now, on to the documentary I mentioned, which was beautifully done, by the way. So much kudos to the creator, which, like I said, I will link it down below. But to me, it kind of resembled a Twilight episode, or for the new generation, a Black Mirror episode. I have to begin with why this body positivity topic hit home with me. I love to eat, like, love to eat, okay? That saying we eat to live, no, 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 no. I live to eat. Food has been my best friend since I can remember. My family members were all great cooks, and food was always reminiscent of a time when every family member would commend each other on their dishes, a time where they were happy, and it was always a source of comfort for me. We grew up poor, but we never went hungry. My uncles, during my summer trips to visit them, would scrounge up money or dig in their cupboards to make a culinary masterpiece out of canned tuna or top ramen. So, needless to say, for every celebration, every breakup, every disappointment in life, food was always there to soak up the sadness. When I was finally able to afford eating out on my own, I would head out to the nearest fast food joint and order a large of everything because I was so deprived of it growing up. I became a little chunky, though thank God for good genetics, I never got super big, but I had really bad butt knee, which is butt acne, by the way, and a little bit on my face. I was skinny fat, and I just didn't feel good about myself. I know, TMI, but it wasn't until I met my first real boyfriend who trained like an Olympian and was a trained martial artist that I started to learn about health. He taught me about organic foods, inflammation from unhealthy foods, and the importance of proper form and exercise. I began to question my binges while having them, of course, but all the while thinking I need to change my life. Slowly and surely, I have. And it's been almost a decade since that realization. And in that time, I have a whole new understanding of discipline and consciousness. And I am still learning, which is why I don't judge anyone because you don't know what you don't know until you know it, right? But with this newfound enlightenment is why I found the documentary to be so disturbing. Here's my stance. The standard of human is diminishing, and we are okay with it because I think we've been tricked to believe by what I speculate was done by ways of psychology to make us think that we are defending our right to live lives the way we want, no matter how haphazard that way of living might be. When you start to normalize behavior of people that are subjugate, otherwise known as enslaved, to impulse control and mediocrity, this normalization of behavior can lead to a new standard of human lows, which I hate to say it like that, but it's true. Therein begs the question, is it our fault? If not, whose fault is it? So there is this argument that some people can't control their weight, and I agree. There are those that suffer from hyperthyroidism, menopause, PCOS, and depression, but Let's bring in some stats. According to an article by the University of Michigan Health, hyperthyroidism occurs in 1% of Americans and usually affects women more so than men. For depression, a study done by the CDC, which analyzed data from 2005 to 2010, did find a correlation between depression and obesity. In 2005 to 2010, 34.6 of US adults aged 20 and over were obese, and 7.2 had depression. It was based on a depressive symptoms experience in the past 2 weeks. Depression, I feel, can be the biggest form of contention for this argument of mine because almost anyone can suffer from depression. Some forms of depression, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, also known as NIH, first defines depression as a common but serious mood disorder. It causes severe symptoms that affect how you feel and think and handle daily activities such as sleeping, eating, or working. To be diagnosed with depression, the symptoms must be present for at least 2 weeks. Psychotic depression, seasonal affective disorder, which, side note, is like when you're having the winter blues because you're lonely, and that's why like there's cuffing season, all that stuff. But that was just a digress because when I learned about that, I was like, oh, interesting, because I think some of us are going through that right now, right? There's also postpartum depression. Depression ranges from severity and can span from a short time to a long time. There are treatments that include medication and psychotherapy. And at the bottom of the article, it spoke about things you can do beyond treatment, which included suggestions such as try to be active and exercise. I can't tell you how much exercise helps me, y'all. It's my therapy, okay? The next one is to set realistic goals for yourself. I think that just means, when you're trying to lose weight, but this is in regards to depression, don't try to rush things. Know that this is a process. Next, try to spend time with other people and confide in a trusted friend or relative, someone you can trust that's not going to judge you and make you feel bad about experiencing something that is very real, depression. Try not to isolate yourself and let others help you. Now, for introverts, I know this is going to be a hard one because, yes, sometimes it's easier just to revert into yourself, but it is very necessary to let others give you a different perspective. Expect your mood to improve gradually and not immediately, okay? Postpone important decisions such as getting married, divorced, or changing jobs until you feel better. Discuss decisions with others who you know well and love you and have your best interests in mind to have an objective view of your situation. And also, continue to educate yourself about depression. Education is key. It's the feeling that is always going to, or excuse me, education is always going to give us new ideas about how to think about what we're going through. I do not diminish any of these mentioned diseases, and if you are experiencing any of these, I urge you to seek professional help. But for those of you who don't have access to medical resources, which is 27.5 million Americans of the 325.5 million Americans as of 2020, we have to figure it out ourselves. Life is hard. I get it. It doesn't help the situation with the state of the current affairs of this world right now either. But being obese, I feel, is a state of mind. It is as primal as a dog who can eat an entire bag of food if left to their own devices because that part of the brain that tells you you're full, the hypothalamus is either defective or being overridden. To better explain this theory, I have linked an article written by NCBI, which is the National Center for Biotechnology, called Central Nervous System Regulation of Eating: Insights from Human Brain Imaging. It was a really good article. It touches upon the fact that the control of eating in the human brain is regulated by several systems, which include the homeostatic brain systems, which is the hypothalamus, attention systems, which include the parietal and visual cortices, emotion and memory systems, such as the amygdala and the hippocampus, cognitive, cognitive control, which includes the prefrontal cortex, and the reward network, which includes the VTA and striatum. If this sounds like gibberish to you, it was to me too. So, but I have gathered pretty much this means we do have regulators in the body, but things like hopes of a reward and our receptors for that feeling of a reward can be overridden and or overly stimulated, which is why we eat more or crave fattier things. The fact that food is so interwoven into our emotion and memory systems to be strong enough to override the regulators of our bodies, such as the hypothalamus, it makes you wonder, what is it that makes food so dang irresistible? The Bliss Point, coined by American market researcher and physicist Howard Moskowitz, is considered the amount of an ingredient such as salt, sugar, or fat, which optimizes tastiness. I know that all too well. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. He was basically the pioneer for the food industry to find bliss points to hook their consumers. An example of this would be coffee with milk, right? So he would set up like 6 cups of coffee. The first cup of coffee had no sugar. The second would have a little. The third would have a little more, and so on and so forth. With the help of science and taste testers, food became more and more of a formulated or a formula to be marketable to the masses. This meant adding a little more sugar and salt additives to give the food that little extra to keep the consumers hooked and coming back. An interesting insight Moss pointed out was that the language people in the food industry used, such as craveability, um, snackability, and moorishness, snackability, is it the craveability? The food industry is a business. I get that. Therefore, marketability and the nuances of it are what need to be pushed in order to keep your business going. But at what cost? In lieu of this evidence, we can argue that we have a lot of odds against us when it comes to the fight to curbing our primal instinct to eat and to tame the epidemic of obesity that disguises this losing battle by proclaiming body positivity. How do we fight such a contender? There's not a one size fits all answer. I just feel that food, just how food addiction has interwoven itself into our emotion and memory systems, I think we have to counteract this logic and discipline. We all know fast food is bad for us, right? But when we drive home, the smell of freshly cooked french fries is like crack to a crackhead, because we're all crackheads, okay? Just get that into your brains, guys. We're crackheads. For myself, I haven't eaten from a major fast food chain in over 5 months. If I do eat out, I like to support like my local restaurants, mom and pop shops, because I feel it's just better. And I mean, they probably might still put in some bad quality ingredients, but I feel it might be better than the like McDonald's or something like that. Not bullying McDonald's, but we all know. How did an impulsive fast food junkie like myself tame the need? Well, first off, it was getting expensive, and I figured meal prepping at home was going to be cost efficient and healthier. Two wins with one simple decision. I didn't want to waste money, so I would force myself to finish off what I had actually made. Um, Another thing I do is I exercise a lot and exert so much energy. When I'm on a treadmill or Stairmaster and I think how many calories are burned in 30 minutes, I start to think of calories like dollars. I'm like, I only burned 400 calories today, so I can't waste it on something that is not going to serve my body for the intense workout it has done. So I'm like, donut, or should I eat a salad and salmon? You know, cost per wear. There are so many ways to think about health, but finding your why is going to be the most important thing. And I know that sounds cliche, but it resonates so much with me because it's very true. Your why is very important. It's going to be what determines if it's going to be what determines you sticking out this process or not. Food at this point is an addiction for some, and with any addiction, we will have to become aware that addicts will make just about any excuse to continue to feed their habit. Just like the recommendation tip for helping to heal depression, expect your condition to improve gradually, not immediately. I have been on this journey for 10 years, guys, and I'm still learning so much. And trust me, I make bad choices sometimes. This Christmas was not a good time for me in regards to my diet, but I have gauged it in with the many good choices that I make. And you only live once. Enjoy yourself, but know that the choices that you make do affect you in the long run. Body positivity is a great notion. We are not meant to be perfect. Your bodies change and morphs during different time periods of our lives. That's the beauty of it. What I don't like is that this notion of body positivity is being squandered as an excuse to continually make bad choices that delimit the precious gift that our body is to us. We only live so long in this world, and while in it, I feel it is our duty to be conscious, healthy, and to take care of the vessel that propels us in it. There are no more excuses, as you have now been taught better. So it's time to do better. You have been tuning into Celestial Evolution. As always, keep looking, learning, and evolving. I hope I didn't offend anybody with this. You never hope to make anybody feel bad about what and how they live their life because I never want to be judged for what I do. But I want all of you to live as progressively as you can. And what is the word? I want you to live as to get every last drop from life because you deserve it. And when you feel better in your own body and the way that it functions, you'll carry out a different vibe about you. Trust me. I feel an aura that is around that I've never felt before. So I want you all to feel the same. And in doing better, feeling better, you make the world a little bit better. We will see you on the other side. Thank you very much for tuning in and have a blessed evening. Bye.